I think that it's a very special place when the tide is shut. I think it's just different. The sound is different. I love the sea. I love being around the sea. It's a different environment to live in. That was the original roaster there, and then we had that in a little shed over in the corner, and then got a bigger one, and then realised we needed a better one. So. We've got a cafe here, small cafe. We're currently running out of the roastery, which was we used to be across over the garden in the old building we've got, but as soon as the pandemic hit, we decided to move it outside, and it's been a great move. So we've been based outside for the last 2 years or so now. I also live on the island. I live next door actually, and we moved in as of last year.
Oh. Lynn, do you want a flat white? Cappuccino?
I would love one.
Thank you.
So the community has mixed opinions on tourism in the island. It's definitely grown in recent years. Whether or not that's just because people are holidaying more at home and appreciating the country that we live in, or that it's grown in popularity. I think there's a mixture of the islanders needing the tourism to survive, and some of them finding it an inconvenience because they live here and they just want to have a peaceful life. So I think ultimately tourism is good for the area. We need a mixture of it, but I think, yeah, as a human living on the island, the heart of the island is the community. That's what I think.
Tide's closing later, then it's got like a Mediterranean feel to it. I always think it's really good.
I live in Northumberland, but about 66 miles from here. So
oh my
I'm
god!
I'm looking for a house. I'm looking for a house closer to work. But it's a lovely community.
Yeah, it is very scenic, lovely community.
It's tedious roundabout in the castle area. Once you're halfway, yeah, it's lovely.
Yeah.
It's worth the community.
I used to be in the Coast Guard on Holy Island.
Oh,
So it's a real busy Coast Guard. They had three water rescues, like 3 cars got stuck on that causeway in 4 days just last weekend. So this pub that I ran, this is my folks' pub, and I used to like manage the pub, and we built this in sort of in the background. So this was like a bit of a hobby, like in the spare time. If I'm being completely honest, we're not the most religious of people. I think a lot of people who live here maybe aren't. I think the island is sort of branded.
Religious kind of like traditions and stuff, yeah, so kind of going with the creed of the island rather than the religious.
There's a lot of really cool stories. I think a lot of people come to Holy Island and find a lot about the tourist side of it and hear a lot of the touristy stories and the history of the island. Think of St Cuthbert, St Aidan and the Vikings, and that's all you hear about. And you think, well, that was like, you know, talking over 1,000 years ago. Like, there's a lot of things happening between now and then that no one talks about. Like, for the last couple of 100 years, this place has been a busy fishing community. Like, there used to be like 1,000 people live here. There used to be multiple pubs, and all sort of business was carried out in all these different pubs on the island. And I think that's a cool element in time that was never really talked about. I don't think there's anywhere really. I think Cornwall is such a special place, man. Like, it should have some real special things to do. Like with the distillery, if we can build and develop on that, then creates sort of better job opportunities there. You've got like events, you've got marketing, sales. If we want young people to go and get degrees, you know, where we want them to come back, we want the need to have like sort of degree-worthy jobs to come back to. Do you know what I mean? They don't just want to come back and work in a pub or work in a cafe. Then that will encourage people to want to stay here, sort of want to bring their families here. So that's another thing that we would like to try and achieve if we can.
There are a couple of like weird superstitions on the island. Some people don't like it when you say pig, so they'll say like Guffy or PIG instead. Yeah, and I've got to say pig because I've got guinea pigs. Like,
Oh.
I can't exactly be calling them guinea guffies. Lockdown was actually a really good, I don't know, it's like been a bit of a bitchy little community, like everybody talks about each other and everybody's in each other's pockets and business, but since lockdown I'd say people, looking out for each other and they've got each other's back. The isolation can really get to some people, but I find it really peaceful. And like often when it's quite busy, like stay in and then wait for everybody to go, and hopefully the weather remains like nice and calm, and you can go out and walk without bumping into like 50,000 tourists. Like when you're thinking like they're from the city or not, and they've come here for like a nice holiday. They want to have a nice day. Like I shouldn't hate them. I don't hate them, but like in the moment you go around the corner and there's somebody there and they're taking pictures and they've got the binoculars out and you walk in front of them and people's dogs pooing everywhere. When I was at school on the island, I enjoyed it. I mean, I always preferred being at the school here than the school at Lowick because I kind of benefited from like the smaller class sizes and stuff. Like when I went to Lowick, it was very easy to be kind of like shy and quiet and stuff because you're kind of like the odd one out being from the island. I don't know, it's a really peaceful place. A lot of people say that like it's a bad place to be like a young person, but the island it has a way of like pulling you back in. Like there's a kind of call to it.
Well, the lure for me is to sit or swim on a beach with no one around and just getting out there and experiencing like the isolation and the completely changing weather systems.
Cup of coffee or something. You're looking out the
That's the
kitchen
only
window.
other, by the way, that's the only meal he ever makes. Ever.
Well, good man knows his limitations. So it's
Seriously.
I can handle bacon, eggs, and
So
beans.
almost coming 18 years and he's done 16 proper meals. The herring house was derelict in the 70s and it was bought by a developer who sold off separate parts and offered it to my father and his brother, and they bought it between them, and ever since then it's sort of gone down to family land. Now it's owned by my sister and my cousin. We're still obviously outsiders because we bought, got the house in the 70s. My cousin married an islander though. She's, only just welcomed him probably.
There's quite a lot of wildlife there.
Yeah, I didn't think I'd get into it this much,
Obviously
but
the
maybe it's a
birds.
thing that happens when you're 50. One of the nice things I've done is on the North Shore in the summer,
swimming along and watching the gannets swoop to get the fish out. And then the seal sort of going, and I'm going, and standing up and the seal going, you know, that sort of thing happens and it's just beautiful.
And of course, there's always the entertainment of people getting caught in the tides, you know, being caught out. It always seems to happen every year.
Mm-hmm.
Fresh pictures of some, normally it's a 4x4, you know, they think they're immune.
There is the reaction to incomers. There was one house for sale a few years ago and they said they wouldn't sell it to anybody who wasn't going to live there permanently.
It's like most places in the countryside, it's too expensive for the people who live there. Hold their homes, putting the prices up. Mm-hmm. So would you say between when you first came up and kind of now that it's, you know, there's less residents on the island?
Very few residents. Mm-hmm.
It's kind of sad.
What do you like about that?
Tranquility really is what sums up the island. It's because it is an island, but you know, you're not having to get a boat to get to it, and then when the tide's up, that's it. You're cut off in a good way. You know, you're happily cut off. You know, it's that's
yeah, there
what
is
I
a quite
like.
nice sense of not so much relief, but once you know, it's not too bad seeing all the tourists coming because you know that it's a lovely day for them to have out. But then they all go and it is suddenly, it's like a curtain of silence has taken over the island.